Rail is a tapered, movable rail which is attached at or near to one end of a running rail made of high carbon or manganese steel to withstand wear. A tongue rail is also called as switch rail. Rail is a running rail to which a tongue rail operates. The end of the tongue rail is called toe of tongue rail. Power is provided to maintain the two tongue rails at their exact distance. Stock rail joint is the first joint of the stock rail which connects other stock rail in front of points. Stock rail joint is taken as reference for measurement of the points and also for counting sleeper numbers. These are provided under the tongue rails to provide smooth lateral movement of tongue rails. Chair plates require cleaning and lubrication at regular intervals. Chair plates of 12 mm thickness for broad gauge and 10 mm thickness for meter gauge made out of steel flats are provided over the sleepers directly under the toe of the switches and under the nose of crossing to ensure exact gauge at these important locations. The heel joint joins the heel of tongue rail to stock rail with a pair of fish plates and bolts, with a heel block pair of fish plates. Crossing. This is a device introduced at the junction where two rails cross to permit the wheel flange of a railway vehicle to pass from one track to another track. Nose. In a crossing, two rails are machined to form a nose. Check rail. This is a guide rail to arrest the lateral movement of vehicles. It guides the wheels into the required path on turnouts. Wing rail. The two bent-up rails of the crossing which are connected to the ends of crossing are called as wing rails. Position. When the facing point allows movement without diversion, the point is said to be in normal position. Position. When facing point allows the movement of vehicles onto a diversion, the point is said to be in reverse position. Trailing point. Points are facing or trailing in accordance with the direction of train or vehicle movement over them. Points are said to be facing when their operation allows a train to be diverted from the line on which it is running. Crossover. A crossover has points at both ends which allow movement from one line to another when the points are set in reverse. When points in crossover are set to normal position, diversion of movement is not possible. This is an arrangement of points and crossings with lead rails by means of which rolling stock may be diverted from one track to another track in facing direction. According to the direction of movement of trains, the turnouts are classified under two types: left-hand turnout, right-hand turnout. Trailing switch or trap point. This is a single switch point provided on off side of the yard and is used as a mean for isolation. Is formed when two tracks cross each other without any connection, permitting only a straight movement. Slip. In a diamond crossing, when rails are added between the outer crossing, movement around one of the corners is known as single slip. Slip. In a diamond crossing, when rails are added between the outer crossing, movement around one of the corners on both sides of the diamond crossing is called double slip. crossover is said to be formed when two crossovers overlap each other, preferably exactly opposite to each other. Creep is defined as the longitudinal movement of rail with respect to the sleeper. Creep anchor. A creep anchor is provided between the stock rail and tongue rail to minimize to and fro movement of tongue rails. Creep and level pillar. Creep and level pillar are provided by the engineering department near stock rail joint to measure creep of rails. The level pillar indicates the height of rail level when points are sunk. Gauge. This is the distance between two gauge faces of both the rails that form a track. For broad gauge, this is 1676 millimeters. For meter gauge, this is 1000 millimeter, and for narrow gauge, this is 762 millimeter. Opening of tongue rail. This is the gap measured between the stock rail and respective tongue rail at the toe of the tongue rail. For broad gauge, this is 115 millimeter, and for meter gauge, this is 100 millimeter. Lines and crossings is shown on the screen.